Welcome everyone. Let's start here. Welcome everyone to our daily Forex market analysis call. And this is in preparation for trading on January 19th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so let's move on to our calendar here. Okay, so first thing, all right, so coming up tomorrow, we have current account numbers for euro. So even though it shows up as a yellow data, the current account, which is basically a trade balance number, these are important because they show the amount of export activity for a country. So these are important numbers, so keep those in mind. And then we have retail sales number for British pound. And going into the New York session, we have some Canadian manufacturing sales and UOM consumer sentiment numbers for the US. So nothing critical. But one thing that we haven't touched on yet is the stuff that's going on, the drama that's going on with the US government. The government is essentially at a point where they could shut down because they need additional funding, and they are having trouble getting the majority to pass those bills. So some of the things that they want to spend money on, not everybody agrees with that. As a result of that, they are basically out of money as of this weekend, and that could cause a lot of problems. So that's what's going on at the moment. I suggest kind of following that. You can usually find that type of information like Reuters or Bloomberg websites. So just keep an eye on that because that will have an impact on the US dollar as well. So let's move on to the charts here. We are looking at euro here. So in terms of our daily level, a daily candlestick here. So we were looking at euro to come down, but it hasn't. Instead, it has pushed up, but it's still making a lower high than the previous high. So right now, based on the daily, the bias is to the upside, and we could see the price go to this 122.80 level, or it can even go into this high of 123.20 level. But overall, keep in mind that it's not an engulfing candle, which means the overall bias is still to the downside. So even though the daily close is to the upside, we could still see a drop. So if we take a look at our 1 hour chart, this is where we are. See how the price is still making lower highs, which means the downside is still there, even though price has pushed up. The downside risk is still there. But it has been a little erratic, as we can see over the last 3 days. Prices drop, pushed back, drop, pushed back. So it's been doing that. So I would be careful as you are trading this. But overall, the overall bias is to the downside. So this could just be a retracement for another drop. So right now, for price to go higher, it could go all the way to 123.20, but we could, if it doesn't cross the high here. So if we go to the 1 hour, this is where we're looking at. So if it doesn't cross this high, we are likely to see a drop. So that would be the way to look at it, as our 122.60 will be the mark. If it doesn't cross 122.60, then chances are it's going to drop. Excuse me, that's how I would look at it. Pound, on the other hand, has been holding high. So as we can see, it had quite a bullish move. So we have seen a higher high for the British pound than as compared to the euro here. So this is quite bullish. It's turned even more bullish here. So now we're looking for a pullback and a move higher up. So 1.400 will be the target to the upside. So in this case, we're looking for price to pull back into 138.50-ish level and then make a move to the upside. So the first target would be the 1.3950 level, which is the top of the pin here, and the next will be a 140. So the bias is to the upside for British pound. As we can see, it's holding the high here. So we could see a pullback into the pivot and then a move to the upside. So that looks bullish. Aussie here is also looking bullish. It's pushed up higher here. It's made a higher, it had a higher close, same as British pound here. So looking for it to move to the next level, which is 0.8030 level. And again, the thing here would be if it doesn't break the pin, the high here, then it could drop. But overall, the bias is to the upside. New Zealand dollar looks like a range-bound trading at the moment. It's just going back and forth. So the entire week it's gone back and forth. So in this case, I would keep the range in mind. If it doesn't break 73.30 level here, we could see it come back towards the bottom of the range, which is 72.35 level. So the move that I would look for in this case would be push up into the top of the range, and if we see the price bounce off back into the middle of the range here, so 0.7330 level will be a potential level for a short. But I'm looking at this as a range bound market for New Zealand dollar here, and as we can see over the last few days here, it's just gone sideways, hasn't really done much, went up, down, up, down. So that's what the market has been doing over the last few days there. It's just been kind of oscillating back and forth, and it's been hard to find a true direction in the market. So this one, it looks range bound. If it goes into 0.7330 level, I would be looking for price to break down. And if it goes into the bottom here, 0.7235 level, I would be looking for a push back up. So just trading range there. This one as well, dollar CAD, it looks like a range bound as well. We have a pin bar here. So now I'm looking for it to move towards the bottom of the range here. 1.2350 will be the target to the downside for this one. So overall, though, the bias is to the downside. So just looking for a further move to the downside. And even with dollar CAD, as we can see, we saw some whipsaws, but we haven't really seen over the last week, we haven't really seen any kind of sustainable move. So, but because of this pin bar, I'm just looking for it to drop a bit more. The next one here is Euro Swiss franc daily chart. So we have, we were looking for a drop here. We got a drop, and now we have a bearish candlestick here as well for the daily. So I'm looking for price to drop further here, and the target would be 1.1680 level. So looking for price to drop further with Euro Swiss franc. So bias is to the downside. Pound Swiss franc here, we had seen a big move up, and then we saw a pullback here. There's no clear direction at the moment. So this could just be a pullback for a continued move to the upside, or it could be retracing further. So this one here, I'm not seeing a clear direction. So we would have to go play it by the ear and see how price goes. So it's just choppy, very, very choppy. So this one may not be the one to take an overnight trade on. It may be better to trade it more in the live market conditions. Daily here, this is bearish. Dollar Swiss franc looking quite bearish. So I'm looking for a further drop here, and the target would be 0.9534 level. So looking for price to drop. Looking quite bearish here. So bias is to the downside. Pound CAD here. Pound CAD has, again, it's not a very clear, so it is bullish because it's been moving higher, but we do see a rejection here as well. So in this case, looking for a retest of the high here, which is the previous support and resistance from that level here as well. So looking for price to go into the high. So the bias will be to the upside. Pound yen. Pound yen is looking bullish here. We have a higher high, higher close for the day. So looking for price to move higher. 155 would be the target to the upside. So looking for a further move higher. So bias is bullish for pound yen. Euro yen here. Euro yen has also pushed to the upside, but it's not quite as aggressive as pound yen, or not as strong as pound yen. So for euro yen, still looking for a further move to the upside. 136.60, which is the top of this pin, will be the next target to the upside. So biases certainly to the upside. So we could see a drop, pull back, and then a further move to the upside. So 136.60 will be our target. Aussie yen here, this is looking bullish as well. We have had a higher close for the day than the previous day. So looking for it to move up higher. First target still is 89.07, and then the second target would be 89.67 level up top here. So looking bullish for now. Dollar yen is, it's not quite clear here. So this is bearish to neutral here. So we have a big, huge pin bar, which gives it that bearish bias. But we do have a bearish candle close. Sorry, the bearish candle close gives it the bearish bias, and the big pin in the bottom gives it more of a neutral bias. So I would say bearish to neutral, looking for price to move lower. And in this case, the first target would be 110.65 level. And if the price doesn't break that low, we're looking for price to move higher. It could go higher in that case. So right now it's just kind of going sideways. So basically what I'm looking for is price to drop into this level, and then it could get rejected here because we do have strong support resistance level right there. So it could get rejected and move up higher. So the first target is 110.65 area for dollar yen. CAD yen hasn't really done much. With this one, it's still sort of neutral here. We have a small candle close with a big pin to the downside. So it doesn't, even though it looks like it wants to move lower, it could push up higher. It's just been essentially the same thing like some of the other pairs that we have seen, just move sideways. So may not be the best one to trade, but what we could do is see if it will break the high. If it doesn't break the high at 89.50 level, then we could see a drop back into this type of a range. So see how it's just been going sideways here. So it could just come back and settle into this range again. All right, so that's all I have. Any questions or anything to add? Okay, if not, we'll call it a wrap, and I will see you tomorrow for our New York webinar session, so at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Guys, have a good night, and I will